Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this video in one go, so if I stumble over my words moving forwards, apologies about that, and also if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well. If there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it cannot be helped, and hopefully it is not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision 2023 related video here on my channel, and today I'm going to be doing something of an annual tradition on my channel, which is where I go through the blank nation army and discuss the select few countries that I genuinely believe are in with a shot of winning the upcoming edition of the ESC, which, as we all know, will take place this May in Liverpool in the UK on behalf of current champions Ukraine. You're very welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discuss in today's video by leaving a comment, and feel free to check out the links in the description to my other social media pages if you wish. So this year, it's a 5-nation army. Right now, and I know we're not even in April yet, but I really don't think this is going to change much. I personally believe, and maybe you believe as well, that there are 5 nations capable of winning this year's competition in Liverpool. You could even say it's less than that. You could say it's a 2-horse race, maybe a 1-horse race. Maybe it is clear cut to you who is winning this year's competition. Certainly a lot of people out there might well say it's a 1-horse race. But we just don't know what's going to happen in May. I think a lot of Eurovision fans on social media like to think they know exactly how things are going to pan out at any given Eurovision. But of course, the truth is we have absolutely no idea. We don't know which countries are going to do the business with the juries in the final. We don't know exactly how well a country is going to do in the public results. So it's really still all up in the air. But at this point, we do have a pretty good indication as to which nations are going to do fairly well, or at least challenge for the win in Liverpool. So I'm going to go through the list I have in front of me in a random order. At the end, I'm going to go through a couple of other nations, of which there are 6, that are sort of on the periphery here. They could win, but I'm thinking it's more likely that they won't. And also, I'm going to be taking a brief look at the betting odds in general at the end of this video, so stick around for that if you're interested. Something I need to do first, though, is I need to go back to this. Indeed, here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first country I'm going to be talking about, a country that could challenge for the win, the first member of this year's 5-nation army, is Norway. This is Alessandra with Queen of Kings, a young woman who was making her debut at MGP earlier this year, and she won it quite comfortably, ahead of Ulrika as well, no mean feat. Queen of Kings, I've spoken about it before, I'll talk about it again. It's a song with some drama to it. Certainly it starts off in quite dramatic fashion, and it's got a real momentum and energy to it, but it's not super over the top either. I imagine the staging is going to be similar in Liverpool to how it was at MGP, where she was performing in this sort of warrior outfit, and she had dancers waving big lights, and there were white lights streaking across the arena. I've said before that actually I'd like this to change a little bit, so there's more colour and a tad more vibrancy to proceedings. It's opening the first semi-final this May. I don't think that's a bad thing, because in the eyes and ears of many a Eurovision fan, maybe you agree with me here, this is looking like an absolute dead cert to go through. So being on first is not at all a damaging blow. It could be a Scandinavian top 3 in that first semi-final. We have to remember it's a sole public vote. No jury marks. I wouldn't be surprised if this year in the final there are more differences than usual. So the juries might have a song that's 20th, and then when the public votes are added, it might be like Moldova last year. That country will suddenly shoot up because they've received 250 plus points from the public, but only about 25 from the juries. Something like that could happen more than once in this year's final. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, getting back to the point, this song is just really good. She's got a great voice. I think she's pretty confident on stage. The music video's out now as well. Not that that really matters, we can't vote on it. But this is a really solid effort. And why I think it's part of this 5-nation army is because it was popular before MGP even took place. Then she won it by quite a margin. And the song is still popular now. A lot of people have this ranked very highly in their top 37s of the year. It's one of my favourites too. It's my number 2 of the year at this moment in time. Certainly, this is a song I think most of us can agree on. It probably will, / probably should, be challenging for the win in Liverpool. I think it would be highly surprising if this song wasn't up there in the top 5, you know, really challenging half a victory. Anyway, let's take a look at the bookmakers. Norway currently the 4th favourites to win with a 5% chance of victory. Probably odds of somewhere around 15 or 25 to 1, which isn't bad. I wouldn't be putting money on it myself, but Norway, there they are, 4th favourites to win. And they've been up there with the bookmakers since day one, pretty much. No real movement up or down. A solid contender to do very well this year. So, how many points? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How many points can we expect? Well, last year, obviously, it was a bit of an anomaly with Ukraine absolutely smashing the opposition. So we'll ignore semi-final 1 last year. And to be honest, what am I looking at here? Yes, Ukraine had 202 points from the public in semi-final 1. In semi-final 2, Sweden had 174, tying with Serbia. Sweden only won the public vote because of the sort of tie-break situation. If we just take a look as well, because I think it's important to do this, if we take a look at 2021, just to sort of get an idea as to what mark a country could get. Ukraine won semi-final 1 in 2021 with 164, semi-final 2, Finland 150. So I think really you've got to be looking at somewhere in the region of, to win a semi-final, that is 100% public vote, you've got to be looking at somewhere in the region of 150 to 220 points. But will Norway win the first semi-final? You've got Finland there, you've got Sweden there, you've got some other countries, Israel, that could certainly finish above Norway on the night, who knows. Czechia's there as well. I think Norway in the semi-final, not that the semi-final really matters here, but I think you've got to be looking at least 140 points in the semi-final, which would be enough to finish in the top 3 quite comfortably. I think that's very realistic. As for the final, more countries enter the mix, of course, and I know some of you might be thinking, Norway doesn't stand a chance. Let's be realistic here. They'll be up there, but they're not going to win. Maybe, but at the same time, we don't know what's going to happen. It is possible Norway could win this year if the stars are aligned. Who knows? So, if we take a look at last year, I'm on the wrong page again. Do bear with me. Norway. Yes. I think from the public, you've got to be looking as a minimum 130 points. My whiteboard marker is not very good. That's brilliant. 130 points minimum from the public in the grand final, which would be enough to finish anywhere between 8th and 5th as a minimum. Realistically, I think it could be a bit higher, but I'm going to say a minimum of 130 points. What about the juries? Are they really going to look at this Norwegian song and think, nah, not for me, pile of crap? No, they're not going to think that whatsoever. They're going to look at this and probably dish out the same amount of points, because I'd just be really surprised. I don't think there's anything about this song or the performance that we're probably going to get in Liverpool that's making me think, no, the juries will really not be a fan of this. Yes, we could analyse what would happen if Norway were in the first half compared to the second half, blah, blah, blah. Let's not go into that because it makes it more fiddly than it needs to be. But I think the juries may be slightly less. So the public, I'm going to say between 130 and 100 and maybe about 180 points. This whiteboard marker is crap. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this and take this and do it in here instead. My God, apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me find a clean page. Here we go. So yeah, Norway, 130 to 180 minimum from the public, and then from the juries slightly less. So I think probably 120 to 170, which would be enough to finish again somewhere between 8th and 5th minimum in the jury half of the results. So if I then load up this, ladies and gentlemen, if it will let me in a moment, hopefully there's no lag. It's taking its sweet time, so we'll have to do that in a moment. But I think you've got to be looking at least 300 points minimum for Norway in the final, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we move on to the other countries? And then I'll do the adding up at the end and everything. So, the next country on my list is Sweden. This is, of course, really as soon as her name was on Elf's participants months ago, a lot of
people thought there and then, okay, she's winning Melfest, and if she wins Melfest, she's going to be a serious contender in May. And that's pretty much exactly what's happened. Now, I know Loreen did come back a few years ago to Melfest with statements. She didn't even make the final. But this song, Tattoo, is miles ahead of that previous Melfest entry. This is very much in the mould of Euphoria. It's very powerful. She's alone on stage. She's in this sort of somewhat ragged outfit. And she's sandwiched between two LED screens. And then the one above her starts to rise. There's smoke everywhere, which they overdid at the Melfest final, but it is what it is. And it's a very empowering, anthemic track which builds and builds. It's really stirring stuff, and she stands up and she's pushing that screen above her head further and further up, and then she's triumphant at the end and she's belting it out. Vocally, this is so strong. Visually, it's so impressive. Sweden doing what they do best once again. This was clearly written, and it's written by pretty much the same songwriting team as Euphoria back in 2012. This was clearly written with Eurovision winner in mind. They weren't just entering Melfest for the hell of it. They were entering the Swedish selection to win it and then potentially win Eurovision. And if I was part of that Swedish delegation, I'd be feeling very confident about our chances and possibly Gothenburg 2024. I'd be feeling very confident indeed. So, Sweden are the clear favourites to win this year's competition. 39% winning chance. That is quite a comfortable lead ahead of second place. For many people, this is a done deal. Sweden are winning. Nobody else stands a chance. And I admit, I thought that up until maybe about a week ago. Realistically, this is definitely finishing in the top 3, if not winning. I don't think there's a situation here where Loreen finishes outside the top 3. Anyway, let's focus on the points. We won't really focus on the semi-final, but Sweden probably will win that first semi-final, even though it is 100% public vote. So, the public in the final. Well, like I said, last year was a bit of an anomaly, but I think you've got to be looking at least 240 minimum, I would say. 240 to possibly 320. That's quite a wide range there. But I think it will be somewhere in that bracket. This is obviously going to get a lot of points, a lot of 12s. As with the juries, I cannot see any situation in which Sweden doesn't win the jury vote. The other countries I'm about to mention, I don't see them doing it. Sweden will win the jury vote, in my opinion, and possibly very comfortably, to the point where it doesn't really matter what the public score is, because Sweden already will have one hand on the trophy. It could be that big a margin. But who knows? Who knows? That's why there's other countries I'm mentioning here. But the juries, yes, I think you've got to be looking at a minimum of 260. We know the juries love Sweden in general anyway. Where were they last year with the juries? Second, 258. This song will surely get more points than that. But I'm going to say 260 to 330. Yes, indeed. Now, is this going to load up for me? I think it will in just a moment. Yes. So I think you've got to be looking at a minimum of 450 points for Sweden, which would be enough to finish definitely in the top 4. So let me just work this out here. So let's say Sweden... public, let's say about, no, let me do that again. Let's say about 260 minimum, plus
about 275 minimum from the juries. That's 535, ladies and gentlemen, which last year would have been enough to finish second behind Ukraine, and most years would be enough to win. As for Norway, let me just go back to them. I know this video is a bit messy, but bear with me. Alessandra, public about 140 minimum, juries about 130 minimum. That is 270, which last year would have been enough to finish 6th minimum for Norway. So let's move on. I do hope there wasn't any period of lag there earlier on, but anyway, the next country I'm mentioning, we've mentioned Norway, we've mentioned Sweden. Do we stick with Scandinavia or move on? Let's move on. Let's talk about Spain. For the second year in a row, a contender to win, in my personal opinion, maybe your opinion as well. This is obviously an automatic qualifier. The winner of Benidorm Fest several months ago. It is the great Blanca Paloma with Eaea. And this is a sort of modern flamenco, mysterious, hypnotic, almost fairy tale, quite unusual sounding tune. We really don't get anything like this at Eurovision very often at all. But this is very authentic. It feels very Spanish. Does it feel very contemporary? Maybe not. The studio version isn't quite as impressive as the live version. The live version at Benidorm Fest, it really was just absolutely splendid. I liked the camera angles. I liked how dramatic it was. I liked how engaging it was. And the vocals, absolutely amazing. Surely one of the best singers this year, if not the best singer this year. She's really going to crush it on that Liverpool stage. Now, in the betting odds, Spain, 5th favourites to win, a 4% chance of doing the business. She did perform very recently at the Barcelona pre-party, and she was excellent from what I've seen of that performance. So fantastic. And I think even if you're not a fan of this song, you can probably say she is going to do a really good job in Liverpool. This isn't the sort of song that's going to completely collapse on the night. This is going to be really assured, tight, fantastic, engaging, splendid, great vocals. And if in the second half of the final, even better. So, could Spain do it this year? Well, Chanel did very well last year. That was with a different type of song, of course. But this year could be similar in the sense that it's going to be another really impressive live performance with another really great female vocalist front and centre. The only thing that might stop Spain from really doing well this year is if a lot of neutral viewers on the night, hearing the song, seeing the performance for the very first time, perhaps the only time, are they really going to be drawn to this sound? Because it's not conventional pop, it isn't rock, it's something very different. That does make me a bit concerned about Spain's chances. But given, in my opinion, that this year we've only got a few frontrunners, Spain is surely one of them. High in the betting odds, a lot of people really loving it. Probably won't do as well as Chanel, but certainly, in my opinion, still up there getting a lot of love. So, in the final, obviously Spain doesn't have to go through the semis. The public, I think, well, let's think here. I've said Norway would get a minimum of 130 from the public. Will Spain get more? I think it's very possible. Let's not forget there's a rest of the world vote, which I haven't even mentioned yet, and I know that's only an extra 12 points potentially, but I can see Spain getting that extra 12 points. I'm going to say a minimum of 140 points to a possible, I use that term loosely, a possible maximum of 180. As for the juries, well, they can't ignore what a great singer she is. And this could be such a brilliant, deceptively simple live performance. The staging, you know, it could be really, really fantastic. Not over the top, but just executed in a really wonderful manner. I'm going to say the juries will really be on board with this. A minimum of 150, a maximum of 180. So let's put this into the calculator. About 100 years, plus about years. That's about 320 minimum points for Blanca Paloma and Eaea in the final, which last year would have been enough to finish 5th. But let's not forget last year was a bit different because Ukraine sucked most of the points. So, moving on, ladies and gentlemen. We've had Norway, we've had Sweden, we've had Spain. 3 female soloists. Let's chuck a guy into the mix. And in my opinion, the only guy who could win this year. It is, to no surprise, Eaea with Cha 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 for Finland. I think the last time a Finnish entry was getting this much buzz was when Finland won in 2006. It's been a good while. It's not often that we can say Finland are sure qualifiers, but it's looking like that this year. Closing that first semi-final, absolutely fantastic. The crowd will be fired up. They'll be ready for this. They'll be singing along. He's going to be doing his thing on stage, possibly with the cha-cha-cha dancers. It's going to be so colourful, so vibrant, so striking. It's just going to blow the roof off the Liverpool arena. And in the final, it will be exactly the same. Exactly the same. Anyway, right now, Eaea is the second favourite to win. 15% winning chance. That is a distant second behind Sweden, but his odds are shortening all the time. And I think once he starts performing this live a few more times, more and more people are going to be getting on board with this. So many people online have been reacting to this song, even if they're not a Eurovision fan. I've seen them reacting to it, and they are just blown away by this. Within the first couple of seconds, their attention is on the screen, they can't look away, they're totally engrossed. It is that sort of tune, and obviously it blends so many different genres, rock, techno, pop, and then in the second half it becomes a little bit more mellow, but there's still this energy, there's still that momentum, there's still that sort of manic nature to proceedings. It's just fantastic, and he's a very likeable singer as well. The only thing that could stop Finland from winning this year, the juries. Because the public will absolutely be on board with this. This could win the semi-final because it's a 100% public vote, but in the final it could be a different story. Will Sweden take more of the points that Finland originally got in the semi-final? I know that Sweden and Finland are in the same show, but hopefully you can see what I mean. I'm rambling, let's go on. So, the public. To win the public vote in the final, you're looking at 300 plus points. Could Finland really get that? Will this song get points from all corners? Possibly. I think it's very likely. There's so much momentum with this song. Before UMK, during UMK, after UMK, it's still super popular. It's my favourite of the year, has been since pretty much I first heard it. I knew that if it won UMK, it would be my number one of the year. It's not going to be knocked off anytime soon. So I'm thinking a minimum 270 to a maximum of 330. What about the juries, though? Are they really going to love this? Are they really going to be on board with a little bit of pina colada, champagne, cha-cha-cha in the boxing ring? I don't know. On the safe side, let's say about 230 to somewhere in the region of 260. Probably somewhere in that region. It's very difficult to compare this song to anything else because we've not really had anything else like this in the past. This sort of quite aggressive, ultra catchy tune. We've not really had anything like that I can think of right now. So let's whip out the calculator again. Let's say about, yes, I think that's a pretty safe bet. Plus about that, yeah, something like that. There we go, 520, which is 15 less than Sweden. Just a rough estimation, well in advance of this year's final taking place. 520 points last year would have been enough to finish second, and most years would be enough to win. And if Cha 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 in the final got 300 points from the public, that would be enough to probably win or at least finish second. And if Cha 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 received about 240 points from the juries, that would be enough to finish in the top 3 as well. Most years, I would say. So Finland looking really, really good. And a cushy slot in the final would be absolutely fantastic as well. So, there's only one country left that I think could maybe win this year's grand final. It's wishful thinking, but it's another female soloist. It's Muller for the United Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen. We know she's closing the show, which could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, who knows. The reason I've included the UK here is because I do think that we're going to do very well. Maybe not as well as Sam Ryder last year, but I do think we're going to do quite well. I have full faith in the BBC to have good staging. May did perform at the Barcelona pre-party recently. She wasn't great, but she was pretty under the weather, so we'll cut her some slack. But she is a very good live performer. Great energy, very likeable, very enthusiastic. The staging, I'm sure, is going to be great. It needs to be great. If you're on last, you need to blow everything else before you out of the water to ensure that people really are going to vote big for you. So she needs to absolutely deliver. And everything else around her needs to be splendid as well. I know that she's promoting this song a lot. It's already charted here in the UK. She's going to other pre-parties. Right now, May is the 8th favourite to win with a 2% chance of victory, odds of about 40-1. I think that's a little bit harsh, but fair enough, because there are other countries that are clearly more likely to do the business. She's automatically in the final. This is very contemporary, slick pop. Exactly, I've said this before, exactly the sort of thing you would hear on British radio. Not that British people can vote for it. But I think we're going to do just all right. And who knows, if the stars are aligned, as I said earlier, for Norway I think it was, if the stars are aligned for May and her Muller delight, then I think this could definitely do very well indeed. I'm going to say, the public mark here, oh boy. Well, if I've said Norway will get a minimum of 130, I think it was, is May going to get 130 at least from the public in the final? How many did Sam Ryder get? He got 183, which was above Sweden, above Norway, above Italy. Yes, yes indeed, above Greece and the Netherlands, very comfortably indeed. Okay, I'm going to say 150 minimum. Minimum. And a maximum, possibly, of 180. So sort of in the same realm, as Blanca Paloma for Spain. And then the juries, it's just got to be so good live. The staging has to be so good. In the music video, we had this sort of forced perspective thing. I don't know if they could recreate that somehow on stage in Liverpool, but if they did, it would be absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to say the juries, let's say 110 to 150. So let's whip out the calculator again because I'm pants at maths. So let's say, yes, about that. Yes, lovely. And then, let's say about that. 290. That wouldn't be enough to win, but it would be enough to challenge for the win. And as I said earlier, it's part of the five-nation army because who knows, it could happen if other countries mess up or if the juries really like a song that we're not expecting. 290 points, which last year would have been enough to finish in the top 6. The public mark would be enough to finish in the top 6. The jury mark would be enough to definitely finish in the top 8. But obviously it could be much higher than that. She could get 250 points minimum from the jury and 200 points minimum from the public. And then that would be really exciting. Maybe she would finish in the top 3. Who knows? Being on last, being the host country on behalf of Ukraine, being a great performer, great vocals, great staging, great energy, sexy, sultry stuff, the points could pour in. We just have to wait and see. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, big ramble, I know. Norway, minimum of 270 in the final. Sweden, minimum of 535 in the final. Spain, a minimum of 320. Finland, a minimum of 520. And the UK, a minimum of 290. But it is possible any of those 5 countries could win in Liverpool. Do you think I'm talking an absolute load of balderdash, or do you think I'm onto something? Let me know your thoughts. Now, the other countries, ladies and gentlemen, that could win if, I don't know, Lorraine loses her voice and snaps a ligament or something. The other countries that could, maybe, and it's a big maybe here, win in Liverpool. The first one is Israel. I'll be brief here. Noah Kirel, young but a seasoned performer, great vocals, great energy, I'm sure. This is Unicorn, a song that I feel isn't stitched together terribly well, but it's still a solid, very credible pop R&B type effort. Noah is the 6th favourite to win. Doron Medali, who co-wrote this, co-wrote Toy, so he knows what he's doing. 3% chance of victory. Need to see her perform this live. I think she already has, I don't know, but I want to see her at more pre-parties and then I'll have a better idea as to whether she's a serious challenger or not. Some people on social media think she might not even qualify. What about that? I think Israel, I think The public will dish out a minimum of that. The juries probably won't be quite as keen, but if they like the slick effort from the UK, surely they'll like the slick effort from Israel as well, which will be earlier on in the running order, of course. So that's a minimum of 230 points in the final for Israel, which would be enough to finish about 7th, maybe. Then we've got Czechia. I think people are sleeping on this song a little bit. It's Vesna with My Sister's Crown, this very Slavic sound they've got going on. We don't really know what the staging's going to be like because the Czech national final showed us nothing. This is going to be in the final, I'm absolutely sure of that. The public, I think a minimum of 100 as a very rough guesstimation. The juries could really love this, you know. They really could. I'm going to say minimum of 130. So that's also 230 points. Minimum, rough estimation, for the Czech Republic. Then we've got Armenia. People are saying this is winning material. I have yet to feel that way about it, but it's in the periphery list, let's call it that. Armenia very likely to make the final. Brunette is great, she's a good singer. I don't think she's performed it live yet. The staging will be key. She's on second in the semi-final running order, second semi-final that is, which might be a bit damaging, who knows, but this is good enough to still go through. I think the public, more than Czechia in the final. How many points realistically for Brunette in the final from the public? Realistically, come on, let's be realistic here. I would say about that, and then the jury's probably about that. 220 minimum for Armenia, which would be their best result for a long time and would be enough to finish in the top 10, so that's a return to form. Then we've got Austria. Who the hell is Edgar? Ah yes, could this win the second semi-final? Public vote alone? Very possible. Could this be a public vote winner in the final? I don't think it's unrealistic to say that it could be, yes. Obviously it's a bit silly, but it's also fairly serious at the same time. The staging's going to be very interesting. Are they going to go full-on Victorian Gothic, or are they going to do something that's a lot more, I don't know, safe and simple? I don't really have any idea whatsoever. I don't think we've got any indication yet as to what the staging's going to be like. The public in the final, well, Norway will finish above Austria, surely. Spain 2, the UK possibly. Israel above Austria in the final with the public. I'm going to say about that. The juries, I'm not sure, will really love this, so I'm going to say about that, which is 210, sorry, minimum. So that is just inside the top 10 for Austria. I don't think it's winning material, but you just never know. Then we've got France. Now, part of me feels France really might struggle in the public results yet again. It happened last year with Alban and Ahez, which was very unjust in my opinion, but it is what it is. Got to move on. Évidemment is a really lovely song. Lazara is a great performer. She looks totally in control of what she's doing. The sort of music video we got, she looked super confident, super at ease. That big note towards the end, splendid. This is just a really polished, top-notch effort. It really is. Feels very French. That's not a bad thing. And if she nails this live, I don't see any reason why this would struggle. The public, I'm going to say, are going to dish out a minimum of that. The juries might really like this. I'm going to say a minimum of that. 250, which is slightly less than what Muller might get, based on this very rough estimation here. But that would be enough for France to finish in the top 10 again in Liverpool. The last country is Ukraine. Got to mention them because it could happen. Ukraine are the third favourites to win, which, if you ask me, is outrageous. 11% chance of victory. I don't mind this song. I do find it a bit dull. Even with the revamp, I find it a bit dull. I'm looking at Norway, I'm looking at Spain, and I'm thinking, how the blazes is Ukraine more likely to win than they are? I just don't get it. I've seen a lot of people rank Ukraine sort of mid-table in their top 37s. I think it's my number 25 or something. I don't think it's going to grow on me much, but who knows? Likeable guys, decent voices, R&B, something a bit different for Ukraine this year, something we're not really used to from them. Does it feel typically Ukrainian? No. Are they in it to win it? Possibly. I mean, surely this is not going to be a Kalush Orchestra situation. Surely we're not going to get something like that again. I'd be disappointed if we did. I really would. I think a lot of people would be disappointed if we had another complete smash for Ukraine in the public and public half of the results, definitely, and then overall. I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to say that, which is about 200 would be enough for the top 10. I think Ukraine will finish in the top 10. But I think when you put this against Finland, Norway, Spain, those nations are far more likely to win, in my opinion. But you can't rule out Ukraine doing it back-to-back. Let me know your thoughts on this. Could Ukraine really win again? And would you be okay with that? Or would you be livid? Let me know what you think. Anyway, the betting odds in general, I'll be brief here because my voice is actually starting to hurt. As of right now, Sweden are well ahead. Finland are second. Ukraine, I've mentioned. Norway, Spain, Israel, Czechia, the UK, Austria, France. So I've mentioned all of the top 10 of the betting odds. And I should say that I wrote down this list on my whiteboard before I even loaded up the betting odds page. Italy are 11th favourites. They'll do well. I did think about mentioning Italy here, but I don't think they're going to really challenge for the win too hard, even though it could be a jury winner. Maybe. Armenia's there. Georgia's 13th. They're starting to slip a bit, as are Switzerland in 14th. That's very high for Switzerland, my God. Interesting. Serbia are 15th. Yes, Serbia definitely are going to have to absolutely smash the public results. And hope the juries are really on board with it as well. Because it's a very moody, dark track, and they just might not be interested in that sort of thing. Croatia, no idea. And then we've got Moldova. Yes, that's going to do well. Australia, Netherlands are 19th. That's not too bad. Might not qualify, but it's not bad. Germany are 20th. I think that will actually slip. Slovenia are 21st. I'm surprised they're not a bit higher. First time I've seen this list, by the way. Estonia 22nd. Don't rule that out doing well with the juries in the final. Absolutely not. Poland 23rd. Oof, bit generous. Iceland 24th. Should be higher. Ireland 25th. Ireland above Portugal. And Cyprus and Lithuania. That's quite baffling to me, but there we are. Azerbaijan 26th. 26th Azerbaijan. What? I don't know what this is all about. Portugal should definitely be a bit higher. Greece 28th, fair enough. Denmark 29th. Cyprus 30th. I'm surprised because I think Cyprus will be in the final. Malta, yeah, Belgium. Belgium might actually rise. He was good at the Barcelona pre-party. Lithuania, that should be higher because, come on now, I think they'll be in the final. San Marino, Latvia, wow, 35th, Latvia. Lots of people love that, but it is the bottom three with the betting odds. Maybe that's going to be the anomaly of the year here. Then we have Albania, fair enough, and Romania, complete rank outsiders. So don't go putting your money on Romania to A, qualify, let alone B, winning the whole thing in May. Anyway, that's it. Let me know your thoughts on anything I've discussed. I'm really interested to know. I'm going to wrap this up now. There'll be more videos from me in the near future. And do take a look on my Twitter page because I am doing a few polls and votes and that sort of thing now. So do vote in those polls if you are at all interested. Anyway, sorry for the rambling and if there was any lag. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe and roll on this year's contest. Before you know it, it will be here. Bye for now.